When you think we have learned everything there is to know about ancient Egyptians, a new archaeological discovery comes along. It sheds a new light on the influential culture. The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities has just announced that they have found the tomb of an ancient priestess. Now we are going to talk about uncovering a buried tomb with artwork that has been completely preserved and dates back 4,400 years. How is it even possible? Let's get started. The tomb is adorned with unique wall paintings that have been marvelously preserved. The tomb was unearthed by Egyptian archaeologists while they were excavating the western cemetery of Giza. It was constructed during the Fifth Dynasty of the Old Kingdom of Egypt. Massive pyramids that appear to have grown out of the sand like dragon's teeth may be found at the ancient site of Saqqara, which is situated 30 kilometers south of Cairo on the west bank of the Nile, where agricultural land gives way to a desert landscape. The old and most well-known pyramid is the Step Pyramid, which was constructed in the 27th century BC by the Old Kingdom Pharaoh Djoser. At the time, pyramids were being constructed as gigantic royal tombs. Along the stretch of ground 5 miles long, more than a dozen more pyramids are scattered about. These pyramids are interspersed with the ruins of temples, tombs, and walkways, covering ancient Egypt's entire history. Under the ground, though, there is a large and beautiful underworld full of treasures just waiting to be found. During the month of March 2019, an archaeological dig is currently being conducted in Egypt. The researchers were excavating an ancient burial site that had been utilized many of thousands of years ago, where they discovered an incredible tomb that was 4,400 years old and included artwork that had been wonderfully preserved. Even though a sizable piece of the Djoser pyramid complex was dug up in the 19th century, the majority of Saqqara's mysteries remained unsolved until far later in history. It is believed that the pyramid was built in the 27th century BC, which would make it the oldest stone structure complex in the world that has been preserved in its original form. In point of fact, around 35 graves were discovered within the necropolis over 4 years, beginning in 1982 and concluding in 1986. In addition, as time has continued, even more marvels have been discovered within the old burial ground. For example, in July 2018, archaeologists working at Saqqara made a surprising discovery. They found a rare burial mask crafted from gilded silver that dated back to the Bronze Age. The mask was found in a grave. The archaeologists unearthed 7 tombs buried beneath the necropolis at the site. Inside each tomb were the mummified remains of cats and scarab beetles. Nevertheless, this was not the end of the findings made at Saqqara. There were still more tombs to uncover. Egyptian officials indeed made the statement that another tomb had been discovered in the country in December of 2018. This particular tomb was considered roughly 4,400 years old and was adorned with sculptures and paintings that had been marvelously maintained over the years. The astonishing news was dropped by Egyptian authorities the following day, on April 13, 2019, to the general public. It was rumored that archaeologists from the Czech Institute of Archaeology, commanded by Mohammed Megad, have been excavating in the vicinity of the Saqqara necropolis. During their time there, the team discovered a number of mysterious tombs and other structures. In March 2019, the Egyptian Minister of Antiquities, Colette Al-Anani, announced that an additional tomb had been uncovered, and that inside the tomb, archaeologists appear to have unearthed something very extraordinary. It is believed that the burial chambers that were discovered at this location date back to the Fifth Dynasty, which began more than 4,000 years ago with the reign of Pharaoh Djoser and eventually lasted for approximately. Another trait that is typical of the places where the pyramids were laid to rest is the presence of a tunnel leading up to the entrance of the tomb. This particular tomb also had this feature. In addition, the vibrant murals that cover the wall of the tomb give the impression that they conceal one more clue as to who Khoi really is. There is no evidence to suggest that the official was himself a member of the ruling elite. Instead, it has been speculated that Kawi may have had a close relationship with King Djedkar Assesi, who is the same ruler whose wife's name was found inscribed on a column elsewhere in Saqqara. King Djedkar Assesi ascended to the throne sometime in the late 25th or middle 24th century. The monarch is also thought to have ordered missions to Sinai in search of precious metals and goods. During his reign, the ancient Egyptians began to expand into the neighboring territory of Canaan. According to experts, they were crafted using what are known as royal hues, including a distinctive type of green resin, that, despite this, Djedkar is best recognized for a series of changes that he enacted across the entirety of ancient Egypt. It is thought that he oversaw a radical upheaval of government descent, the centralization of power, and the creation of a system that was comparable to feudalism. In spite of this, a good number of historians currently concur that approximately 200 years earlier, in the city of Saqqara, Djedkar was laid to rest. His ultimate resting place was marked with a step pyramid that stood more than 170 meters tall. Looters were unfortunate enough to enter the tomb and steal its contents before leaving. 4 excavations were not started until the 1940s, and to this day, very little is known about the life of the ruler who ruled during the Fifth Dynasty. The topic of what kind of relationship Djedkar had with Kawi, an official whose tomb was located nearby, has not yet been solved. The tomb of Kawi was found in close proximity to Djedkar. The ornate style of Kawi's burial has led some to speculate that he may have had a close relationship with the pharaoh. This is supported by the fact that the burial was quite complex. In point of fact, there are others who hold the opinion that the two individuals may have shared a familial link. In addition, all they can do is keep their fingers crossed and hope that the find would give them additional knowledge about Djedkar's reign. It is likely that Egyptian government officials are holding out for an outcome that is a little bit more tangible. You need to understand that the tomb is only one of a number of discoveries that the administration is hailing in the hope that they will lure tourists to come to the country in the year 2010. Over 14 million tourists traveled to Egypt in 2010, and it is highly unlikely that a large number of them were attracted to the country by its many ancient structures and monuments. On the other hand, fate had something else in mind for January 25, 2011, which was the day when the demonstrations against the Egyptian government began. This day marked the beginning of Arab Spring. Diverse youth organizations took to the streets in protest of what they perceived to be an increasingly violent and corrupt state, which sparked social unrest that's persisted for more than 2 weeks. Even though the tourism industry was experiencing losses of approximately $1 billion each month before the crash of the Russian Airbus A321 in Egypt in 2015, it is estimated that tourism accounted for approximately 10 of the country's jobs after the revolution. The situation only became more dire in 2015 after the crash of Russian Airbus A321 in Egypt. In addition, despite President Mubarak finally departed on February 11, 2011, a political turmoil continued to plague Egypt for several years after his departure. As a direct consequence of this, the number of visitors remained relatively low prior to the revolution. In December of that year, Al-Ani made the proclamation that 2018 would be known as the year of archaeological discovery stories. This was a reflection of the fact that there had been fresh and exciting advancement in the area of archaeology every week in 2018. In the meantime, the authorities are hopeful that the fresh finds, such as the one made at Saqqara in March 2019, could assist in further resuscitating the country's tourism business at this time. Those who are working to improve tourism in Egypt are lucky to be working at a time when a staggering number of historically significant finds have emerged from the region in recent years. What do you think about the video? Please let us know in the comments area below. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe and turn on the notifications before leaving. Thanks for watching.